I interviewed Mo3.
Who?
Mo3.
I don't know who that is.
Well, I asked about the shooting, and
you know, buddy.
He said there's no beef, but you know, he said you just gotta stay out the way. It's real out here. And
it's real out here. Shit, niggas get hit up every day. Like, it's the world. Like, you know, somebody right now, we talking right now. Somebody right now, probably getting shot up right now. Like, shit, you gotta stay out the way, man.
Don't know who that is.
No, I don't know who buddy is.
Okay.
Where you from?
I think he's from the same place you're from, same area.
Dallas?
Yeah.
I don't know him.
Never heard of him?
I know everybody from my city making noise.
Okay. Hold on a second. Well, Mo3 dropped a song called 219. Some people say it's a diss song towards you.
I ain't never heard it.
Never heard it?
TrapBoy Freddy is facing accusations that he snitched on Yella Beezy, and now he's finally speaking up to explain why people think that. Two rappers who once showed everyone how close they were are now caught in one of the biggest and most talked about situations Dallas rap has ever seen. But what really caused that friendship to fall apart is a lot more complicated than the rumors flying around online. We're breaking down the whole story. You'll see how their friendship started, how the Mo3 murder for hire case changed everything, what people on the internet got completely wrong, and what TrapBoy Freddy has actually been saying while Yella Beezy remains under house arrest as he fights his legal case. The real story goes way beyond people throwing around the word snitch. To understand what's happening today, you have to look back at where both artists came from. Yella Beezy and TrapBoy Freddy both grew up in Oak Cliff, a well-known neighborhood in southwest Dallas that has produced some of Texas' most respected trap music.
A Dallas rapper was murdered outside of his car on I-35 near the Dallas Zoo. Hello, I'm Steve Eager.
I'm Heather Hayes. It is a stark example of the city's struggle to control violent crime. Police say the victim, a hip-hop musician named Mo3, was approached by the killer on I-35. Both men stopped their vehicles. The victim got out, took off, started running, but was shot several times on the highway. A bystander inside another vehicle was also hit.
The area has a long history filled with challenges, tough lessons, and real-life consequences, and both artists built their careers by telling stories inspired by that environment. Yella Beezy, whose real name is Marquez DeAndre Conway, started building his name with independent mixtapes before his 2017 project Lightwork. Volume 2 pushed him to a whole new level. The song that changed everything was That's On Me, a laid-back trap hit packed with confidence that quickly spread far beyond Texas and turned him into a national name. The success of that record exploded. It earned platinum certification from the RIAA and later brought together major artists like T.I., 2 Chainz, Boozy Badazz, Young Jeezy, Rich the Kid, and TrapBoy Freddy for the remix. That feature wasn't random at all. Freddy was already part of Beezy's circle because they came from the same streets and shared many of the same connections. TrapBoy Freddy, born Devarius Dantes Moore, built his reputation with non-stop releases, high energy, and a style that connected with fans looking for something raw and real. Tracks like Lil Kita helped grow his audience far outside Texas, while his image as someone who stayed true to his roots gave him respect that couldn't simply be created by chart success alone. But TrapBoy Freddy's path to success wasn't smooth at all. Along the way, he dealt with several legal problems, including charges related to weapons and organized criminal activity. Then, in August 2022, U.S. Marshals carried out a warrant at his home and reportedly found both a firearm and a tiger cub. The discovery quickly became one of the most unusual stories tied to the Dallas rap scene, while also leading to serious legal consequences. That investigation ended with Freddy pleading guilty to being a felon in possession of a firearm. In November 2023, he was sentenced to 16 months in federal prison. After serving his sentence, he returned home and was back in the public eye by early 2025. Even after everything that happened, people still remembered how closely connected he and Yella Beezy had once been. They came from the same neighborhoods, shared many of the same circles, and making a full project together once seemed like the obvious move. In May 2020, they released I'm My Brother's Keeper through Hitco Entertainment and 300 Entertainment. The 13-track project celebrated Oak Cliff, their shared background, and the friendship that helped shape both of their careers. The title wasn't just picked because it sounded good. It was meant to send a message that they stood together like family and believed they would always have each other's backs, no matter what challenges came their way. Then everything changed in a way few people could have predicted. On November 11th, 2020, Dallas rapper Mo3, born Melvin Noble, was fatally shot on Interstate 35E in broad daylight during a shocking attack that stunned the city and quickly made national headlines. Traffic cameras captured key parts of the incident, bringing even more attention to the case. According to investigators, Mo3's vehicle came to a stop on the highway before another dark-colored vehicle pulled alongside it. Authorities say a masked person got out and chased Mo3 after he ran from his vehicle in an attempt to escape. Investigators allege the pursuer caught up to him and fired multiple shots, resulting in Mo3's death. The case immediately became one of the most closely watched criminal investigations connected to the Dallas rap scene. Mo3 was taken to a nearby hospital after the shooting, but later died from his injuries. He was only 28 years old. Another person in a nearby vehicle was also struck by gunfire during the incident and survived. The shocking attack left Dallas in disbelief. The rap community was stunned, and investigators immediately began working to figure out how such a carefully planned act could happen in broad daylight on a busy highway. Mo3, born Melvin Noble, was far more than just another rapper on the rise. He had earned respect throughout the Dallas music scene with a style that mixed melodic rap with deeply personal storytelling. His music reflected hardship, determination, and survival, helping him build a loyal fan base across Texas and beyond. At the time of his death, many believed his career was reaching a major turning point. His songs connected with listeners because they spoke openly about real-life struggles and difficult experiences. He had worked with several well-known artists from across the South and was steadily gaining national attention. His death was felt far beyond the music industry. Family, friends, supporters, and his local community all mourned the loss of someone they believed still had so much ahead of him. The tension between Mo3 and Yella Beezy had been public for quite some time. The two artists had traded diss tracks and exchanged messages on social media, and the disagreement between their camps had been widely reported. In January 2020, nearly a year before Mo3's death, Mo3's manager, Brandon Rainwater, was involved in a physical altercation with Yella Beezy outside a Dallas strip club. That incident later became the subject of a civil lawsuit, with Rainwater ultimately being awarded $325,000 in damages. The conflict between the two groups had been building for years, with public disputes, legal issues, and ongoing speculation keeping attention focused on both sides. What remained unanswered for a long time was whether those public disagreements had any connection to the later criminal investigation. Then, on December 9, 2020, less than 1 month after Mo3's death, authorities arrested Kuan Dontrell White as part of the investigation, marking a major development in the case. Kuan Dontrell White became the first person formally linked to the Mo3 case. In federal court, he was convicted on firearm charges connected to the shooting and is currently serving a 105-month federal prison sentence, just under 9 years. But his conviction didn't bring the investigation to a close. Instead, it pushed investigators to keep digging into a much bigger question: who allegedly planned the killing, and who was accused of paying for it? For years, rumors spread through Dallas and across social media about who might have been behind Mo3's death. Many people already knew there had been public tension between Mo3 and Yella Beezy. Diss tracks, online exchanges, and a long-running rivalry had kept attention on both artists for years. Mo3 and TrapBoy Freddy also had a difficult relationship that added another layer to the story. Still, those discussions remained speculation for a long time, and no criminal charges connected either Beezy or Freddy to the homicide during those early years. That changed on March 18, 2025, when a Dallas County grand jury indicted Yella Beezy, whose legal name is Marquez DeAndre Conway, on a charge of capital murder for remuneration. According to the indictment, prosecutors allege that Conway intentionally arranged for Melvin Noble's death by hiring Kuan Dontrell White in exchange for payment or the promise of payment. These are allegations, and the criminal case is still moving through the court system. 2 days later, on March 20th, 2025, authorities took Beezy into custody, and he was booked into the Dallas County Jail. He has pleaded not guilty and continues to deny any involvement in Mo3's death. His original bond was set at $2 million before later court proceedings addressed his release conditions. According to court filings and reporting by outlets, including the Dallas Observer, USA Today, and NBC DFW, prosecutors say financial records show Conway withdrew approximately $40,000 in cash around the time of the killing. Investigators have also cited witness statements, surveillance evidence, and phone records that they allege connect multiple suspects to events leading up to the shooting. Prosecutors argue that this evidence supports their case, while the defense disputes those claims as the legal process continues. Another man, Devin Morris Brown, has also been indicted in connection with the investigation. Court proceedings involving his alleged role are still ongoing, and the allegations against all defendants remain subject to the judicial process. Now we get to the question everyone keeps asking. Why are people accusing TrapBoy Freddy of snitching on Yella Beezy? The answer isn't as simple as social media makes it seem. There are really two different sides to this story. One involves the legal process, and the other involves a friendship that appears to have fallen apart over time. Together, those two factors have fueled the rumors surrounding Freddy and Beezy. The legal side is where most of the speculation comes from. According to reports about leaked court documents, TrapBoy Freddy was subpoenaed to testify in Yella Beezy's 2026 capital murder trial. A subpoena is a legal court order, not an invitation or a request that someone can simply ignore. Prosecutors may issue one when they believe a person could have information relevant to a case. Receiving a subpoena does not by itself mean someone is cooperating with the prosecution beyond complying with a legal requirement, nor does it establish guilt or innocence for anyone involved. That important detail is often lost once the story reaches social media. As soon as reports about the subpoena began circulating, many online immediately started calling Freddy a snitch. But appearing in court because of a subpoena is legally different from voluntarily approaching investigators to provide information. Those two situations are not the same, even though they are frequently treated as if they are in online discussions. Away from the courtroom, it also appeared that the relationship between Freddy and Beezy had already changed, long before the indictment became public. Back in 2020, I'm My Brother's Keeper presented the two artists as close friends with a strong bond. Over the years, however, legal troubles, public controversy, and constant attention surrounding the Mo3 investigation placed enormous pressure on everyone connected to the situation. During that same period, Freddy also served his federal sentence on the firearm conviction before returning to public life. By the time Beezy was arrested in March 2025, many fans noticed that Freddy was no longer publicly showing the same support people had seen years earlier. He even made public comments about Beezy's financial situation surrounding his release on bond, which led many observers to believe their friendship had already faded. Whether that reflected personal disappointment, distance, or something else has not been confirmed, but it added even more attention to their strained relationship. The situation became even more complicated because public reports have also discussed Freddy in connection with the broader investigation. As legal proceedings continue, the facts surrounding every individual involved remain matters for the courts to determine. That's why many legal observers caution against jumping to conclusions based only on headlines or social media clips. The full picture is still unfolding, and online labels often leave out the legal context that can completely change how people understand the situation. The reason behind all of this is far more complicated than a headline can explain. When the indictment became public in March 2025, the attention wasn't focused only on Yella Beezy. Reports also claimed that law enforcement had identified TrapBoy Freddy, whose legal name is Devarius Dantes Moore, as someone they were seeking in connection with the broader Mo3 investigation. Those reports immediately sent shockwaves through the Dallas rap scene and across social media. According to reporting from Hip Fresh and other outlets following the case, investigators said they had developed new leads that led them to examine Moore's possible role in the events surrounding Mo3's death. Mo3 and TrapBoy Freddy had a well-known history of public disagreements, and investigators were reportedly looking into whether that history had any relevance to the criminal investigation. Those reports reflected investigative claims, not court findings, and the legal process is still what determines the facts. Now think about what that means for a second. This is where a lot of the online conversation starts to fall apart. Across YouTube, hip-hop blogs, and social media, many people quickly pushed the idea that TrapBoy Freddy had turned on Yella Beezy to protect himself. It became a story about betrayal, loyalty, and survival, and it spread incredibly fast because it fit the kind of drama people love to debate online. But the publicly available information doesn't clearly establish that version of events. What has been reported is that both men became connected to the same broader investigation through different legal developments. Yella Beezy has denied the allegations against him and has pleaded not guilty. Public reports regarding TrapBoy Freddy's status have also remained subject to ongoing legal developments. Those facts are different from saying one person secretly cooperated against the other, and that distinction matters. Still, once the rumors started, they moved at full speed. At the same time that reports connected Freddy's name to the investigation, he was also making public comments about Beezy's legal situation. That combination created powerful optics, and many people online quickly reached their own conclusions before all of the facts were available. From there, the reaction followed a familiar pattern. Hip-hop blogs highlighted the alleged fallout, YouTube creators posted reaction videos, and comment sections filled with arguments over what people believed had happened. Before long, the phrase TrapBoy Freddy snitching had become its own viral topic, even though the legal issues involved remained far more complex than the headline. headlines and social media posts suggested. Every time TrapBoy Freddy made a public comment about Yella Beezy's legal situation, many people online treated it as proof that their theory was correct. But that's not how legal cases work. A public statement is not automatically evidence of cooperation, and internet conversations often move much faster than the facts. In hip-hop especially, legal proceedings can take months or even years, while social media can decide on a narrative in just a few hours. Before long, opinions started replacing confirmed facts. A public disagreement became a supposed betrayal, and a comment made during an interview was treated by some people as if it were courtroom testimony. Meanwhile, the people at the center of the story were dealing with real legal cases, real public pressure, and serious consequences that could affect the rest of their lives. Now, let's look at what TrapBoy Freddy actually said, because this part has been publicly reported. In April 2025, only weeks after Yella Beezy's arrest became national news, Freddy gave an interview that was later highlighted by No Jumper. According to reports from Hype Fresh and other outlets, Freddy said that Beezy had sold off his belongings to cover bond and legal expenses while preparing to fight the charges against him. According to those reports, Freddy described Beezy as having liquidated his assets in order to secure his release and pay for his legal defense. His remarks were widely interpreted as matter-of-fact rather than supportive, and many fans immediately noticed the difference in tone. Considering how close the two artists had once appeared to be, those comments sparked even more speculation about how badly their relationship had deteriorated. Think about how people viewed it. The two artists had once released a project called I'm My Brother's Keeper, presenting themselves as close friends who stood together through everything. Years later, one of them was publicly discussing the other's financial struggles during a major criminal case. Whether those remarks reflected frustration, distance, or simply personal opinion is open to interpretation, but they certainly fueled even more debate online. Even so, it's important to separate public commentary from legal cooperation. Speaking about someone's legal situation in an interview is different from providing testimony under oath in court. Based on publicly available information, there has been no confirmed public evidence showing the existence of a formal cooperation agreement between TrapBoy Freddy and prosecutors. Likewise, any discussions that may or may not have occurred between attorneys and the government have not been confirmed through public court records or widely credible reporting. What does appear clear is that the friendship between Beezy and Freddy has changed dramatically over the years. Exactly when that relationship broke down has never been publicly confirmed, but the events surrounding the Mo3 investigation seem to have created a lasting divide. When longtime friends find themselves connected, directly or indirectly, to one of Dallas's most closely watched criminal cases, relationships can become far more complicated than outsiders may ever fully understand. When trust starts falling apart, everything changes. People begin looking out for themselves, longtime friendships can fade, and every public move gets picked apart. With Yella Beezy under house arrest while fighting a capital murder case, and TrapBoy Freddy giving interviews, the contrast became impossible for many fans to ignore. That difference alone fueled even more debate than some of the music ever did. Now, let's talk about the financial side of the story, because once TrapBoy Freddy brought it up publicly, it quickly became one of the biggest talking points in the entire case. According to court records reported by Hype Fresh in the spring of 2025, Beezy's original bond was set at $2 million following his arrest. That's an enormous amount for almost anyone to secure. Later, the court reduced the bond to $750,000, allowing Beezy to be released under strict conditions that included house arrest while his case moved forward. Court filings from April 2025 also showed that Beezy asked the court for permission to attend his young son's football game while on bond. According to those filings, the request was denied. Details like that reminded people just how restrictive bond conditions can be during a serious criminal case, and how every request receives close scrutiny from the court. Then came TrapBoy Freddy's public comments. According to widely circulated reports, he claimed that Beezy had sold off his assets to pay legal expenses and secure his release on bond. Those remarks immediately grabbed attention because they came from someone who had once been viewed as one of Beezy's closest allies. Some people believed Freddy was simply sharing what he knew, while others saw the comments as a sign that he wanted to publicly distance himself from his former friend. Exactly how those remarks should be interpreted remains a matter of opinion. One thing that isn't really debated is how expensive and demanding a capital murder case can become. Legal teams spend months preparing, investigators continue reviewing evidence, and both prosecutors and defense attorneys work through countless motions before a trial ever begins. Here's where the courtroom timeline becomes especially important. A Dallas County grand jury indicted Yella Beezy on March 18, 2025. He was arrested 2 days later and has pleaded not guilty to the charge. His trial was scheduled to begin on February 2, 2026, with a pretrial hearing set for January 9th. Because the allegation is capital murder for remuneration under Texas law, the case carries extremely serious potential legal consequences if a conviction were ever obtained. During the pretrial process, Beezy's defense team also remained active. Court filings from late May 2025 showed that the defense issued subpoenas to Securus Technologies, along with the Dallas Police Department and the Lancaster Police Department, seeking records and evidence they believed could be relevant to preparing Beezy's defense. Those requests are part of the normal legal process as both sides continue building their cases before trial. Beezy's defense team appears to be taking an aggressive approach as the case moves toward trial. Based on public court filings, the defense has been closely examining the prosecution's evidence, looking for possible inconsistencies, procedural issues, and other arguments they may present to a jury. That's a standard part of preparing for a major criminal trial, especially one involving allegations this serious. Now, we have to separate internet headlines from what the public record actually shows. Titles across YouTube and hip-hop media often use the most dramatic wording possible, including claims that TrapBoy Freddy was revealing why he is snitching. Those kinds of headlines spread fast because they grab attention, spark debates, and encourage people to click, but the verified information paints a much more complicated picture than a viral title ever can. Here's what has been publicly reported. TrapBoy Freddy has been identified in reports discussing the broader investigation connected to the same homicide case involving Yella Beezy. That situation is legally very different from someone who is publicly confirmed to have voluntarily cooperated with prosecutors against a former friend. Those are two separate scenarios, and it's important not to treat them as though they automatically mean the same thing. Freddy's public comments about Beezy's financial situation created massive discussion online, but making public remarks during an interview is not the same as giving sworn testimony in court. As of the information reflected in publicly available court records and widely reported sources, there has been no confirmed evidence of a formal cooperation agreement between TrapBoy Freddy and prosecutors. That distinction is one of the biggest details often left out of social media conversations. Instead, many people combined several different developments into one dramatic storyline. Reports about a subpoena, public interviews, legal speculation, and the history between the two artists all became part of a single online narrative suggesting Freddy had traded loyalty for personal protection. While that theory became extremely popular across social media, it remains an interpretation rather than a conclusion established through court proceedings. The bigger story may actually be what this situation says about how high-profile criminal cases unfold in the internet era. After Mo3’s death in 2020, questions circulated for years while investigators continued building their case and Mo3’s loved ones searched for answers. As legal proceedings moved forward, online conversations often reached conclusions long before the courts had the chance to examine all of the evidence. That gap between public opinion and the legal process can shape reputations almost overnight. In cases that attract enormous attention, headlines and viral clips can quickly become accepted as fact, even while the justice system is still working through the evidence. That's why separating confirmed information from speculation remains one of the most important parts of understanding a case as serious as this one. For Yella Beezy, this isn't just another headline. It's the reality he has been living every day. He remains under court-ordered house arrest while preparing for one of the biggest legal battles of his life. Public reports have stated that he sold assets to help cover legal expenses, and court records show that his request to attend his young son's football game while on bond was denied. As his scheduled February 2026 trial approaches, he continues facing a capital murder charge while maintaining his innocence and pleading not guilty. The pressure surrounding this case is impossible to ignore. Financially, legally, and personally, the situation has become overwhelming. His defense team continues challenging the prosecution's case as both sides prepare for trial, knowing that the outcome could have life-changing consequences. Every court hearing, every filing, and every new development has been closely watched by supporters, critics, and the media alike. TrapBoy Freddy's situation is also filled with uncertainty. The artist, who once stood beside Beezy on songs celebrating loyalty and brotherhood, has now found his name connected to the same broader investigation according to public reports. Instead of publicly defending Beezy, Freddy's interviews and comments have often been viewed as critical or dismissive, leading many fans to believe their friendship had completely fallen apart. Why that relationship changed is something only the people directly involved truly know. It could have been personal differences, the pressure created by ongoing legal issues, or reasons that have never been shared publicly. Outside observers can only speculate, while the courts continue focusing on the evidence presented through the legal process rather than opinions shared online. As Yella Beezy's trial moves closer, years of rumors, public allegations, and unanswered questions surrounding Mo3’s death are expected to be examined inside a courtroom rather than across social media. Whatever role TrapBoy Freddy may or may not ultimately have in the legal proceedings will be determined through that process, not through internet speculation. One thing that does appear clear is that the close friendship the two artists once proudly displayed during the release of I'm My Brother's Keeper no longer appears to exist. Beyond the headlines, it's important to remember the lasting impact of the tragedy itself. Mo3, born Melvin Noble, lost his life in a violent shooting, leaving behind grieving family members, friends, and supporters who have waited years for the legal system to move forward. No matter how much attention falls on the conflict between former collaborators, the central issue remains the search for justice through the courts. This case has reshaped careers, reputations, finances, and lives, and its full story will ultimately be decided through the legal process rather than online debates. Whether TrapBoy Freddy is eventually viewed as someone who cooperated to protect himself, someone who simply walked away from a friendship that had already fallen apart, or someone facing his own unresolved legal challenges, only time will reveal the full picture. Right now, the snitch label attached to him online comes from a mix of public comments, legal developments, and speculation that spreads quickly through hip-hop culture before all the facts are fully known. The courtroom, not social media, will decide what the evidence shows. A jury will eventually weigh the facts, and long after the blogs move on to the next headline, Yella Beezy, TrapBoy Freddy, and Mo3’s family will still have to live with the consequences of everything that follows. That is the real story behind all the noise. Two artists who once stood together under the message of I'm My Brother's Keeper are now connected to one of the most serious and talked about cases in Texas rap history. The internet can create a narrative overnight, but only the legal process can determine what truly happened. No comment section, viral post, or reaction video can deliver the final answer. That responsibility belongs in the courtroom. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more deep dives into the biggest stories in hip-hop, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who want to stay informed.